I'm Zach Martin. It is the Big Fat American Rock Show. We're with Dave Ellefson. I hope I say that right, because I always have a little bit of a problem with those Nordic type of names, Dave.
Yeah, no, you hit it. You hit it. In fact, I remember as a kid, the first time, I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and, that moment you realize my brother told me we actually have a last name, because I thought my name was David. and I'm like, how do I say that? Ellefson? And he said, just think of elephant, and it'll help you through it.
All right, we got that right.
So that's why I tell people all the time, just think of elephant, and you'll be fine.
Now, you have your own band named after you, Ellefson.
Yeah, essentially it's a solo venture, and it's kind of interesting how it started. Last year, 2019, was an odd year. Originally, we were going to be doing the Megadeth tour with Ozzy Osbourne, and that canceled on Ozzy's side. And right at the very end of that, in July, we were set to put out my new memoir, which is More Life with Death. And what we thought about doing originally was just we're going to put a song out as sort of a companion download for anybody who bought the book. And what it turned out to be is a vault of material that I have. And we ended up, one of the songs was actually called Sleeping Giants, and that's what ended up becoming a companion album, sort of a soundtrack to that book. And we called it Ellefson Sleeping Giants. And then Dave Mustaine fell ill with his throat cancer and went through those treatments. And so suddenly my calendar was wiped clean from all Megadeth activities. And so we just set out to go around the world and start doing an Ellefson solo tour to support the album and the book. And thus a solo career of sorts was launched, and something that I can kind of do in and around my Megadeth schedule now.
All right. I'm glad we straightened all of that out. Now, we have a lot going on in this world of ours, this pandemic, and it seems to me, outside of where it's really bad, it seems to me that people just don't get it. They go, oh, it's going to blow over. I've had conversation after conversation with people in certain areas of the country. It'll blow over when it warms up. I'm thinking, well, it is kind of warm in certain places of Italy, and it's warm in Tampa Bay, and they have cases. I don't know how I could get the point across that this is not just something that's going to blow over, that this has changed our world forever, and that people are suffering. Are you feeling any of that frustration?
Well, it's interesting. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's a perfectly clear blue, sunny sky kind of day. And my family, we have been hunkered down here for the last 2 weeks, pretty much in the house. And we do go out and ride bikes just to get some exercise, but we live in a very kind of suburban area up next to the mountain, and there's very few people around, so it's very easy to social distance. In fact, you actually have to make a pretty strenuous effort to get close to anyone around here, which we're lucky that we don't have this dense population around us. And so, for us, it's been okay, but we don't go to the stores. We don't just go hang out with friends. And all that has stopped. We're trying to play by the rules because, as we've been told here, as I guess we all have nationally, is like, look, if we can get ahead of this and flatten the curve, as they say, and that's the one chance we have to reduce the spread of this thing. Mm-hmm. So here it seems to be working in Arizona, but again, our population the whole state is probably 1/10 of just what New York City is. So,
yeah, and outside of New York, where I live, is the highest rate in New Jersey. And a town away from us, we have almost 100 cases, and I think the deaths are just under 20 right now. That's a little too close for comfort for anybody.
My wife is from New Jersey. We actually have a home that we own back there that we go to during the summer. And to get out of the ungodly Arizona heat. But yeah, so, she's very much, in touch with friends and family and everything back there. And so, New Jersey's, in a way, kind of a second home to us. So, certainly a heavy impact. We don't know people who have contracted it, so to speak, or at least that have been tested positive for it, but it's hovering right around family and friends that we have right back there in New Jersey.
Yeah, I know a couple of people that have it, and I know one person that I work with whose father died from it, and a couple of other people that I've I guess not directly, but they've all passed on as well. And so I'm seeing a lot of the stories, and it's scary. I get all of that. I just want to take this time before we talk about your song to thank all of the people that are working through this. I'm talking about the grocery people, the people that stock the shelves, the truck drivers, the people that work at Amazon, deliver the food. I don't know where we'd be without them. And I just want you to think how society sometimes views people that work at grocery stores, that stock the shelves. It's like a job that's beneath most people. I was telling my daughter yesterday, it's an honorable job. Any job that you do where you serve other people or you're trying to make a difference is honorable. It doesn't matter what the title is. So I just want to thank everybody listening right now to know how much we appreciate you and never, ever think that you're beneath anyone. You're far above many. Talk about your new song.
So a new song that we have called Simple Truth. I've been writing a ton of songs here over the last several months. And which, I work on some things for Megadeth. I work on some things, and I don't really know where to put them, so I set them to the side, etc. But Simple Truth is a song that we wrote when we did a tour across Italy and Switzerland back in November of 2019. And the first day that we rehearsed with the band, who are all Italians, by the way, we wrote this song. I started with a bass riff, and it just fell out, and me and Tom, my singer, and Andy, our guitar player, we wrote and produced and put the song together. And ironically, our engineer and mixer, Alessio, is up in the Wembley area of London, so we kind of have this constant online, back and forth that happens of how we're putting new songs and what will become a new Ellefson solo album together. And this first song, Simple Truth, it just hit me the other day. I called up Tom, my partner, and also the singer on the track, and I just said, you know what, let's give that song away and take all of the proceeds that come from it, and let's give it to the Italian, some sort of charity. And we came up with the Red Cross for the COVID-19 relief fund, because our band, who's playing on it, is from Italy. They fortunately are safe. I was just in Italy back in February with Megadeth, and it was, there was no issue at that time. But I mean, the tour that we just did with Megadeth and Five Finger Death Punch, we were literally about 2 weeks ahead of the corona outbreak everywhere we went. And fortunately, we all got home safely and without any issue. But boy, I tell you, it was close. And especially, Italy being one of these places, it's been a huge supporter for Megadeth and for me personally, and my band being from there. I thought this is a perfect time to, in some small way, try to give something back that we can help to benefit the people of Italy.
Well, that's an excellent thing. If somebody can get more information, where would they go online?
You can go to any of my davidellefson.com or any of my social media. But what launched this was really my David Ellefson Youth Music Foundation, where we are giving away free online music lessons to students who are out of school right now.
Wow, that's great.
Of the COVID-19 matter. The website for that as well is ellefsonyouthmusicfoundation.org, and that link will have everything on there, including the song Simple Truth and everything about that.
And so I'll go to the site and I'll take up lessons, and they'll go, "Hey, you're not a kid." "Oh, but I act like one."
We did deem it 18 and under.
All right.
And it was funny because the first day that we pushed it out, a fan asked, he said, "How about a 51-year-old?" And I thought, well, I guess if you're doing your MBA or your doctorate degree, technically you are a student. Maybe we could fit a spot in there for you.
Good. That'll get them to be able to take their student loans and put them on hold. I got my daughter Sophie in the studio with me, and
hey, Sophie.
He says hi. She can't hear it because we're on the headphone, but I think she wants to be a rock and roller when she grows up. So we'll have Sophie go on the site and maybe take some music lessons. I think I was talking about this the other day. She loves rock and classic rock, right? And I noticed one thing about every kid who likes rock and everybody that picks up a guitar or the bass. One of the first songs they always learn is "Bum bum 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 bum," "Smoke on the Water," right?
Well, I think it speaks to the effect of a riff.
Yes.
A riff is just a set of notes or chords just played in a repetitive fashion. And of course, that one's pretty simple, but simple can be very effective and simple can be very powerful. And it's funny, I actually just gave a friend, his daughter is wanting to also learn music, and I actually was teaching her that riff like literally 2 weeks ago before the lockdown happened. I was over at his house, and I just picked up the guitar, and I thought, what's the easiest riff? Well, let's go. No, 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 no. And it's the best air guitar riff, and it really is. It's probably one of the simplest rock riffs you could ever learn.
Yeah, and it tells a great story about Frank Zappa and the Mamas and Claude Knobs pulling the kids out, and the stupid guy with the flare gun. I think he's been identified, and I'll tell you one thing, I will never invite him to any party that I'm throwing.
Well, I've been to Lake Geneva a few times over in France, and every time I'm there, that song immediately comes to my mind. I stand there and reflect on the smooth, cool waters of Lake Geneva, and I think about some stupid with a flare gun.
Exactly. We all do the same thing. That's pretty funny. There's something about you that a lot of people might not know, Dave, is that you're a Lutheran minister.
Yeah, I did the studies. There was a 4-year online degree program through the Concordia College back in St. Louis.
Oh, that's a good school.
Ordained minister. Yeah, and I've done all my college studies online. I got my business degree through an online college. I started with some University of Phoenix stuff back in the late 90s when we were on tour. So the online method works really well for me, and it's the only way, really, that I could get higher education. So when the opportunity came up through my church to go do the studies, I did. Now, I did 1 year of it. It's a 4-year program, and you can become ordained after 2 years. So I did the 1 year, and I then got a certificate, which allows me to, as I call, marry 'em and bury 'em, which is I can do weddings and funerals, and I've done some baptisms. And but I always defer to the Lutheran theology, which is what I was also raised in back in Minnesota when I was growing up. So, to me, it's nice to have some theology education and something that I can bring into it, other than just saying, you may kiss the bride, sign the marriage document.
Yeah, I agree with that. No, it's good stuff to share with people. And in times like this, people really need it. I think that it really stretches us, it pushes us. And I think through faith, we'll get through all of this. I really do appreciate the fact that you're thinking of others that are not in this country. The one thing that I'll take away from this, Dave, is the next time I hear about an Ebola breakout in Africa, I'm going to do more. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, it's not my problem, or they're so far away, or I feel really bad. I think that I'll find ways to take action, even if it's just doing fundraisers and sending money and trying to help those people. We got to stop just thinking about the problem when it's only happening to us. We got to worry about it when it happens to other people, and we got to do more to get involved sooner so that we don't have a pandemic like this again. I could be wrong, but that's my line of thought.
Well, that's generally what happens, I think. This is a moment where we are forced to stop. And one of the most uncomfortable things, especially for a society like America, which is capitalist and be all you can be, and you're nothing if you don't do it yourself, and there's all this sort of roll up your sleeves and be self-made kind of mindset. And the reality of it is we stop in a moment like this when we're forced to stop, and we're forced into introspective reflection. We're forced to stand still for a minute. And sometimes what we hear when we stop and stand still is we hear our conscience. And sometimes we don't like what we hear from our conscience. Yeah. And sometimes we realize as we're locked into the house with other people of our family, we realize, maybe I haven't spent as much time with my family as I probably should. And, if you go scriptural and biblical with it, I mean, the family is one of the things that the Lord has given us to love them, like we would love, our own Father and our Heavenly Father in the way He loved us. So if we're not taking care of them, then we're not really doing kind of the top order of God's command to us. And again, I'm included in that. I'm not immune from falling short of that either. So, that one scripture, be still and know that I am God. That is a really tough one. And when we're always getting up and running out the door and on the move and on the computers and taking care of business, it's really easy to neglect some of the things that are right in front of us. Quiet time is good for us. Quiet time quiets the mind, obviously, but it also forces us into some disciplines to take one of the hardest actions to take is to not take any action.
Oh yeah,
just
to sit there.
still.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's a very tough thing for us to do, and especially I think here in America. And I think it's a wake up call for our country, for all countries, and it's this one moment where the whole world, we're all in this together, and it's what a and out of lemons comes lemonade, and I think one of the pieces of lemonade that came out of this is we're suddenly connected globally. It's like you said, it's not just their problem. If they were like us, they would do it better. It's like, hey, we're all in this one together and figuring it out together.
That's good stuff. Yep, and I agree. And everybody remember this, if you're listening. Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. That's where we're going to be when we're judged, what we do for the least amongst us. So keep that in mind, and I'm with you. It's a time to stay where you are and reflect and think about deeper things. Think about the kingdom of God. If you want to dwell on anything, dwell on that. It's been hard for people who are pastors and priests and clergy people to stay from the pulpit, to stay at home. It's tough on them too because they feel like they're not doing their job. But I guess right now everybody has a job of watching out for their loved ones and taking care of their neighbor by staying in place and being smart and taking the right precautions.
Well, it's interesting. I came home from Europe, and sometimes when I'm touring for a few weeks, I get some kind of upper respiratory stuff, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't coronavirus. So I came home and took an antibiotic, and I went to go see my doctor, and suddenly he was flipping out. He had a mask on. He said, you need to wear a mask. And, I said, listen, I'm pretty sure I don't have the coronavirus. And I know we don't totally know what it looks like yet, but I'm pretty sure I don't. And I got through it okay. But, but he said, listen, you need to wear this mask when you're here in this room with me, because if I get sick, then I can't help others. And I thought that was, a very poignant thing. So he's a professional in the medical realm, and same with the clergy, and same with all of us. And I think that's why they're telling us, look, stay home. You're not trained to deal with this, so just stay home. Stay out of the way of those who do need to be on the front lines. And I agree with you what you said earlier. The people that work at the grocery stores and the gas stations, they're asked to show up and go to work because they're a necessity, a service of necessity. And I think one of the better things we can do, if we can all help it, is to just try to stay out of their way when we don't need to be there.
I like
let's not expose them to any more than they have to be exposed to.
I like what Larry David said. He goes, just stay home, do nothing. He goes, nothing ever good comes of it when you leave the house. So that's kind of a funny way of looking at it.
The one thing we always want is a day off, and now we get it.
Now we get it. And we're like, oh, we got to get out.
Yeah.
And when this is over, boy, I'm telling you, people are going to go all over the place quickly. So one more time, Dave, why don't you give everybody your contact information, the name of the song, where they can download it, and then also at-home learning for kids for music.
Ellefson Youth Music Foundation.org. That is the link where you can go to register for the Schools Out initiative, for the free music lessons for people 18 and under. There's also a donate button on there if you are inclined to make a donation to our foundation. Those funds go to not only just keep the operation of the foundation going, but just as importantly, those funds also go to help pay some of our instructors. Many well-known, hardworking musicians are also out of work right now.
Oh, yes.
And that's why we're employing them via the foundation to be on call to give lessons to students. And it's a way to keep their bills paid as well during a very uncertain time in the concert business when a lot of things on everybody's calendar has sort of indefinitely been pushed back. So, and then as far as the song, Simple Truth is a brand new song that is going to be played right here. And the proceeds from that song, if you go to you listen to it on Spotify or YouTube, or if you purchase it online any of the proceeds from that are going to be going to the Italian Red Cross COVID-19 Relief Fund.
And
Thank
we'll
you, everybody, for your participation.
We'll rebroadcast this on our podcast. We're going to play the song right now on 102.3 KKDJ, Fresno's Timeless Rock.